Welcome to Pig-Headed and Well-Read. It's our penultimate episode of our East of Eden read-along, where we covered chapters 45 through 49. I'm Ethan Rowley with Nate Skidmore. As you probably know by now, this is a spoiler-free pod. If you're here and this is your first time listening, there's going to be a lot of spoilers. Go back to listen to episode 1 because we are going to cover anything up through chapter 49 here in this episode. We only have one more episode to release on a Tuesday that we're planning right now. Maybe we'll do more. But so far, it'll be next Tuesday will be our final episode getting released on Apple, Spotify, and our YouTube channel, where we'll cover the final 50 pages of East of Eden. You can also follow us on social media at Pigheaded and Well Read. DM us there if you want. Or you can also send us an email at pigheadedandwellread@gmail.com. Content warning, as you probably already know, due to the nature of East of Eden and its story and characters, throughout this read-along, we're touching on some mature and complex themes, including but not limited to violence, abuse, suicide, alcoholism, racism, war, death, and sex work. If these topics are difficult for you at all, please listen with care. Nate, in the second to last episode, what are you most looking forward to?
Yeah, I mean, what's more relatable than a family getting together over Thanksgiving and it going poorly? What? Who among us
Who among us?
hasn't had an experience similar to that? So,
Yeah, they don't even
um,
get to the pie.
they don't. There's no pie. It's just I don't even know if they get to the meal. It feels like it falls apart really quick.
Yeah, I don't remember any recollection of turkey.
No, but maybe there was, and we again, this was months ago that we maybe there's a whole chapter on turkey.
And the
But
turkey
yeah,
is not the meat of the chapter.
yeah. Ooh,
Oh,
oh. All right. Well, yeah, but that's what I'm looking forward to.
all right. I'm looking forward to it too. Let's listen back. Let's go.
Let's go, baby. Yeah, we're almost done. I can't even believe it. I can't even believe it. Yeah, I can't even imagine what the last 50 pages of this book have in store for me. Like
Hmm.
something is about to occur. But yeah, but
Yeah.
these chapters we were talking about before we hopped on. Uh, I mean, 45 through 48, you kind of feel like he's really drawing this out, and then 49 packs a punch. So
Hmm.
expect the last 20 minutes or so of this pod to be pretty action packed.
Very action packed. Yes.
Yeah,
I expect the first 40 to potentially include dilly dallying with Joe.
yeah. We get this Joe guy. We meet this character. We're 80% of the way done with the book, and Steinbeck's like, "Have you considered Joe?
Joe and a backstory about Joe.
Let's get
Yeah.
to know him." And you're like, "Oh man, like now?" Like,
Yeah.
it feels a little late, but nevertheless,
There's
there he is.
Johnny Stein. All right.
Kate, we get an introduction to Joe Valeri, and Kate sends him to go hunt down Ethel because she gets a little paranoid that Ethel's gonna come back to haunt her with her evidence of killing Faye. We get a little update on the Trasks. Uh, how excited Adam is for Aaron to come home. Um, and all that, and Cal's got his big surprise ready. Then we jump back to Joe, and like he kind of doesn't really want to work for Kate anymore, and he starts kind of plotting against her. It's hard to tell, like, is she a step ahead of him? Is he a step ahead of her? Um, and then uh, Aaron comes home. Everyone's excited. There's like some minor family drama. Cal does his big offering, this big present, falls totally flat on his face. And then, like with a lot of stuff Steinbeck does, the action happens off screen somehow in the book. uh, Cal shows Aaron who his mom is, resulting in Aaron most likely joining the military.
Mhm.
Uh,
And it's
so
kind of vague. It's like,
it's pretty vague.
yeah.
The
Is that
last
what
little
happens?
bit just refers to Aaron as boy, and you kind of have to be like, it's probably Aaron, right? There's no way
Beautiful
it's.
boy. A beautiful
Yeah, he's
boy.
beautiful, right? Yeah. How many beautiful boys do we know in this story?
Yeah. I
Just
know.
the
It's like
one.
finally it makes sense why Steinbeck was talking about how precious young Aaron was.
he's wonderful to look at. Um, right on. Well, we
Okay.
start with an odd chapter.
Chapter
So
45.
batter up.
Batter up, baby. Yeah. It's kind of like this expose character examination of Joe to start. Joe, Kate's bodyguard. And it's just kind of a good character study of how just really small things about building up hate and kind of disguising selfishness as self love have really made him be the man who he is today, which is the man who does a whoremaster's bidding and works kind of in the gray to black area of moral and ethical things. But the reason he works for Kate is because he really respects her and realizes that she kind of lives by the same rule set, the same code that he does, but she's just much better at them. And so she's like lucky, and she's better at this system approach of like understanding and manipulating people. And so it's really easy for Joe to end up following her. It's like alpha, beta between the two of them.
Yeah, one thing that I think makes Steinbeck like a really good writer is like that he's able to write so many different kinds of characters and get into so many different perspectives. Like I feel like if I wrote a book, I'd have a hard time like not writing like every character as like a weird version of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why like I'm like nervous to like write something and have people like, so that's what you think? And I'm like, no, it's the character. Like he's a freak, isn't he? Like,
Yeah.
but like it's crazy how Steinbeck just like perfectly like there's so many traits of humanity that I sometimes think are like new or like come from like people having their brains melted by the internet, but like learning about Joe where it's like he's got his rules that he lives by and it does just sound like the worst person you've ever kind of run into, like just like the sentiment of like if I'm in trouble that means there's a big conspiracy against me, and if I do something wrong it's because people I'm hurting deserved it, and
Mm-hmm.
like people do like build up these walls around themselves, and it's like, and like instead of taking responsibility for their actions it is like, wow, like I can't believe everyone's out to get me, and then you mess up and instead of being like I shouldn't have done that, it's like, oh, they're gross, nasty, like
Except for when it
they
goes your
deserved
way.
it. I'm always in the right. My enemies are evil, and therefore any action I take against them is justified. Yada yada.
Yeah.
But yeah, but like his little rules did just kind of read like a nasty Twitter thread of someone being like, here's how I became a billionaire doing business to business sales.
Always keep your ear open.
Don't believe
Yeah.
anybody. Keep your mouth shut. Keep your ears open.
The art of the
And,
deal.
yeah, don't trust women. Right? Like you,
Yeah.
don't do it. And then put
Did
your
Joe
faith in
invent
the
the
money,
manosphere? Yeah.
baby. Joe would have killed it on LinkedIn.
He would have.
It's all
He
about the
would have.
money. Anyway, sorry.
I wonder, actually, I'm thinking now of using these 7 codes of his and posting a LinkedIn post and seeing if I get people to say insightful.
It's gonna
Thank you, Ethan.
go mega viral.
Yeah.
Like people are gonna be like reading through it, and they're gonna like get to the don't trust women part. They're gonna be like, huh, like
Yeah. Don't never trust no dame about nothing.
don't ever trust nothing. I'm imagining like people reading the post, and it's like verbal meme that gif of Rolly from Diary of a Wimpy Kid where he's like, and then like looks down and like, oh,
Okay, yeah,
like,
don't believe nobody. Yeah.
like
Cool.
okay, yeah, I mean, keep your mouth shut, ears open. What?
Yeah, I can see that too. But yeah, it kind of sets up Joe. I felt like this chapter is very like noir, as we'll see later on, because like he is calling women dames. He like kind of goes after clues, but we'll get to that in a
He
sec.
says,
Because like
"This town ain't what it used to be,
yeah, I
tuts."
can see him lighting up cigarettes in the corner. But
These streets ain't what they were.
yeah, it's Chinatown, baby. Okay. So we jump to Kate, and we're in her mind, and it's really just like a few pages of her just spiraling again over Ethel, because she's very paranoid about Ethel being out in the world. She wishes she played her cards differently. She starts to think Ethel could be in Salinas at this very moment, and she's like, "Well, maybe I could go out there and I could go search myself." But she's very conscientious about her weakness, her like frailty now. And I think that screwing up this Ethel situation has made her question her ability to execute her plans. because yeah, her age is making her very apprehensive, and she's like kind of fearing for some of the girls in the house, not in a way that they'll like overcome her, but more that at any minute one of these girls could crack and everything could come crumbling down and she won't be able to get ahead of it. So she's incredibly reliant on our boy Joe and his code. And Joe, I think, is kind of seeing this weakness in her a little bit, because we get a little aside from him where he's like, maybe one day I'll run the house. Maybe I could kind of stage a little bit of a takeover. But then he's reminded that no, that won't happen because I'm profoundly afraid of Kate, which I thought was a really funny bit. But Kate isn't worried about Joe at all because, as it turns out, she has blackmail on him. He was also in a road gang and walked away from it after a 5-year sentence for robbery. So his last name is actually Joseph Venuta, not Valerie. So she's got a card that he does not know about.
Which is so her. Like as soon as like as you're like kind of reading about it, and you're like, wow, maybe she's lost her fastball, and it's like. And like, man, she's kind of depending on this Joe guy. And it's like, she's like, I also will blackmail him if I need to. And it's like, nah, she's still got it. She's still her. She's still him.
Yeah. Yeah. It kind of made me think that maybe she was kind of playing into this weakness a little bit to make Joe a little more soft around her. It doesn't explicitly say that, but I could see her doing something like that easily. Mm-hmm. But she calls Joe in, says, Joe, hey, guess what? I'll give you $500 if you can just find Ethel's address and bring it to me. And she kind of does some initial buttering up before she does this, where she kind of throws him off balance by saying, hey, you could have it worse than you do right now. And maybe we could potentially be partners. And it just kind of makes him just shaky. And I think that's how she is able to control him so well, is never allowing him to know what she's really thinking.
Yeah.
But Joe kind of starts to like get in a weird stupor that she picks up on, where he's remembering that day in the court where Ethel had asked to see the judge alone. And Kate picks up on this and says, well, what do you remember here? You remember anything? He's like, oh, no, I just know that she might have some relatives in San Luis. And so I'll go check out there. And so you can kind of see the beginnings of his plan. But very quickly, Kate goes, hey, does Venuta mean anything to you? Keeping him on his toes the whole time as she sends him out into do his little plan to go get Ethel's address.
Yeah. I'll be interested to see in the show. I'm kind of skipping ahead to adaptation notes, but how they do all these scenes with Kate, where like it's all the lying, right? And like you as the audience know both people are lying, and it's like, does each person have they picked up that the other person's lying? Like, do they know? And like they're like testing each other and stuff. Like, maybe that'll kind of depend on the actors to really, really bring that to life. But like when you're reading it, you can feel like that tension of like Joe's lying and he doesn't want Kate to know, and like Kate's lying and she doesn't want Joe to know, and like they're both kind of like acting a certain way to conceal the truth.
Because Kate isn't super upfront about why she wants the address, right? She says something like, I want to make it right with her. Isn't that what she's planning on? Like she tells Joe, like, I actually want to make it right with Ethel. That's why I want her address.
She tells him that later. In this one, she tells him that Ethel stole something from her.
Right, that's what it is. That's the key.
Yeah,
that's the key
but
information.
She does later. She changes the lie to I want to apologize to her.
Yeah. Oh. Kate. And this is where we kind of start the noir, and I can kind of see this as like a black and white montage of Joe.
Do a black and white section.
Yeah, because he goes to Monterey, California.
He's got a trench coat on.
Yeah, he does get the trench coat. Some music in the background. Perhaps it's some Benny Goodman. And in his hotel, he's thinking he's underrated Kate. And he mentions that maybe he'll get away to where? The biggest little city in the world, Reno, Nevada, my hometown. First book I've ever read where Reno gets mentioned.
Reno mentioned.
Reno mentioned, baby.
You gotta get it.
But he's in his
first pop culture reference of Reno, and then there wasn't another one until the Muppet movie in 2013.
Well, there's this, and then Johnny Cash singing about how he killed a man in Reno, and then the
Okay, so
Muppet movie. So there's the
there's
three
three.
big
Yeah,
ones.
sorry, I forgot Johnny Cash. He
Yeah,
walked the line, and I forgot about it. My
he
bad.
shot a man in Reno just to watch him die. I
Yeah.
bet Joe's done something similarly, but he's as he's kind of brewing in his hotel, he realizes
That's funny.
Ethel didn't
I
steal
also I
something.
wrote the word. I wrote the word. He brooded.
Oh,
I don't
really?
even know if that's.
He was brooding.
I don't even think Steinbeck even says the word brooding. But I'm reading this and I'm like, this man is brooding.
He is definitely brooding.
Uh,
Brooding and deducing that perhaps Ethel didn't actually steal something, that she just has some dirt on Kate because he knows that she had asked to speak to the judge alone. And so he thinks, well, maybe I can use Ethel to my advantage and play this card against Kate. And as he's thinking about this, he's really drinking. And one of another code of his is once he drinks, he doesn't go outside, but he has no problem harassing a woman from across the alley and like throwing crap at her. Just not a good guy, but he's getting some joy out of that. But then he quickly kind of feels really sorry for himself that he's lost his youthful innocence, and all the men that he grew up with have probably made something for themselves, and he's here doing the whoremaster's bidding, and he like cries himself to sleep.
it was kind of a roundabout little chapter for you. Um, I did think it was funny. Like he's like his code name is John Vicker. Like he just like changes. He's like yep, nailed it. No one's gonna know who I was.
I think you just got to keep your initials.
Yeah, you gotta. That's the rule.
Do you have a code name ready if you ever have to go on the lam?
Uh, not ready. No, I
Hmm,
mean, do you?
no.
Let's see if I have to keep my initials, and he doesn't just keep he keeps most of his first name, like John to
Yeah.
Joe to John. I don't know. I'd have to go with like Noah Sizemore. It would be really
Noah
similar. Like
Sizemore.
Noah
Ev-
Sizemore.
Evan Crowley.
Yeah. Evan Crowley. You are changing the initials though.
I'll get you right. That is Evan Roland. There we go.
Evan Ronson.
Yeah. So, anyways,
Evan Randall.
wakes up, and then it's kind of like I thought it was gonna be this montage, but so I wrote montage alert, but it's really only like two scenes because he goes to one connection, and then he's fed another connection to go try to find an Ethel, and on the second connection, he's in Santa Cruz, and it's this guy named Hal, and he kind of schmoozes him a little bit to where they're buddy buddy by 1 a.m. in a restaurant, and this guy believes that Ethel is dead,
Hmm.
that because she's pulled out of the sand where waves had left her. Hal thinks that maybe she'd gotten on board with some sardine fishermen and had gotten pushed overboard or jumped overboard. And Joe doesn't rule out the possibility of suicide. But either way, he just kind of goes on trust that Hal knows it was her. I always live by a rule: no body, no dead. And so
Mm.
it's kind of crazy that Joe, and I live on that for books and movies. It's not like I am chasing after people for leads, and that's a rule I live by, obviously.
Ethan the bounty hunter.
Yeah, no body, no
The
dead.
was so you understood it that Joe believed it. I kind of felt like that Joe didn't know if he believed it, but was willing to kind of take it and like go back to Kate
Mm.
and
Yeah, I
I guess
think.
he doesn't tell her that she's dead. So
Yeah,
um I guess
I
that's
kind of
kind of
took it as like this is good enough. I don't think I'll find her.
yeah, that's
And
kind of how I
yeah,
felt. Like I didn't know if he believed. I think he was just kind of like, yeah, I'm done doing this.
hmm,
Like, he's like, I don't care if this story's true or not. I'm choosing to believe it.
yeah. So we go back to Kate. Oh, actually, no, real quick. So has this plan where he'll not be very upfront with Kate about Ethel being dead. He kind of wants her to think that she's still alive. But what he's going to do to not talk himself into a corner, he's going to let Kate do the talking, and he'll just kind of steer from there. So he's kind of doing some improv. He's planning to do some improv with Kate, which we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah.
We're back with Kate, and she's miraculously feeling better with some new medicine and some rest. And that's where I think that she might have been like lowering, like making herself more wrinkly and haggard and sleep deprived to get Joe a little bit off balance because she's like, I look more angelic. So that's what I was thinking. She might have been doing it
I
purposefully.
I just thought, sometimes you just need to get a full night's rest and then you wake up with a whole new perspective. Even
Sure, she
evil
got to sleep
people,
on it.
when they if they don't sleep enough, they'll get worse.
Yeah,
Um,
Steinbeck just has me because I know Kate's history. I'm just like everything that she does. I'm thinking is a plan.
I think she just got a little sleepy.
And she was stressing out about Ethel. Maybe she's finally not as
Yeah,
stressed now that her boy's out there.
she just needed some Xanax.
Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, so she kind of now she's in a happier mood. She's thinking about her two boys. She's really worried about the dark one, Cal, because he reminds her of Charles. But she thinks that it would just be uncanny and just the greatest thing ever if she was just next to Aaron in a crowd because they both look alike, and just people started realizing that they were mother son.
she's just
So
kind of having like an interesting little fantasy like
yeah,
moment.
it's
Um,
interesting. Interesting.
Interesting. Like it's it's like not even necessarily like a heartwarming thought that she's having. Like, oh, she's thinking
Hmm.
about her son. Like it's very like self-serving. Like she's like, I'd love for people to like notice how beautiful he is and how beautiful I am and think I was his
Hmm.
sister.
Yeah, yeah,
Doesn't she say that? It's like you're
yeah, yeah.
50, lady. You got it. You're 50 years old. Like no
And you
one
got
thinks you're this.
arthritis. Yeah.
You're all twisted up. Like you built an extension to your house to block out the sun. Like you don't look like this boy. Um, yeah. And then like um she fantasizes about like moving to she's back like on her like I'm gonna move to New York thing.
Hmm.
And she's
Mr.
like
Edwards.
fantasizing about like bringing Ethel and Aaron. Like she's like I'm gonna bring Ethel. I'm gonna kill her. She's gonna get so fat. Like you're just like following this train of thought, and you're like,
Yeah,
what is?
it's so bizarre.
I
And
actually did
she's
laugh
also
out
wants to
loud.
teach Cal a lesson too. Is another thing
Yeah,
she wants to do.
she wants to get him herpes. Um, she's like gonna like yeah I don't even know like that's kind of a nasty plan for your mom to come up with. Like she's
Hmm.
um but yeah, I laughed out loud when I read the part where she was like, and then Ethel will die, and she'll need an extra large casket, and it'll take six wrestlers to carry her out of the house. And I was like, "You're this is crazy."
It kind of feels like the Grinch, the
It's
a
like
Grinch movie.
cartoonishly evil. Like I'm gonna
Yeah.
fatten her up with chocolates and kill her. Like, what's your deal? Like,
I
um,
know. This book is funny. This book is
it's
funnier than I
funny. There's
remember.
funny
It's
moments. But yeah, it's just an odd fantasy she has about like stealing Aaron away and like going to the theater and being respectable people.
hmm.
I imagine she's thinking like she'll move to New York and then like write him a letter and be like, "I'm your mom and I always wanted you to come live with me."
Yeah.
Which I was kind of thinking I was like, it probably would work. Aaron's an idiot. And
Oh, yeah,
so
probably.
yeah. But anyway, then Joe returns and kind of
Joe
cuts off
comes
this
in.
daydreaming.
Yeah, record scratch. And Joe's pretty truthful for the most part about his journey and travels, like where he went and kind of what he heard. But he just the cherry on top is, hey, I heard this rumor that Ethel was planning on coming back, laying low in Salinas, potentially here right now. But he also kind of does this little song and dance of, I'm so sorry I couldn't get the exact address. Nobody needs $500 like I do, before giving this fake information that Ethel could be at large.
Mm-hmm.
But he still gets the $500. Good for her. Good for him. Promises
Got
to
a lot of
keep an
money.
ear open for Ethel. And then when he like closes the door, he's like, "All right, yeah, my master plan now is that I'll let Kate relax for a little bit, and then I'll bring it up again naturally that I heard she was actually here." And so he's living by his code. Keep your ears open, and when they make a slip, grab onto it and wait. And that's what he is trying to do. But I think that what Joe's really doing, because it's like he kind of has an idea of a plan. He doesn't have like A to B to C to D. I think he just feels really empowered doing this, finally being the
Oh, yeah.
person to
And it's like,
think up
what
something.
what gave you this confidence that you could do
Yeah.
this? Like, it just feels very ill conceived.
Hmm.
It's almost like I never like I didn't watch Star Trek growing up, but
Me neither.
I kind of know how the episodes would go. Like, he feels like a red shirt character, right? They go down to the planet and it's Captain Kirk and Spock and like a crew member with a red shirt on, and it's like that guy's definitely dying. Um, and it just feels like he's there. He's wearing his red shirt, and it's like we're gonna give you one more example of how ruthless Kate can be before the final act. and
Yeah.
it's going to be like when she destroys this man. Um,
Hmm.
but obviously, I'm speculating now. I don't know. But I'm just like watching
Yeah.
this. Like, there's no way that Kate gets taken down by Joe Valeri the hater. Like,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. As I got further along into reading the journal of a novel with it, it kind of got harder to realize or what part of the book he was talking about. But for a while, he kept telling his editor, one more big Kate moment before the end, one more big Kate moment for the end. And I feel like we've had multiple Kate moments for the end, before the end, until,
no, this is going to be the big one when
but this
she
is a
does
big one.
something crazy to this guy.
But Nate, you're in his head right
She
now. You're in Steinbeck's
she's gonna
head.
put him in a blender. Um, maybe literally.
Hey, you're probably wondering why the video looks a little bit different if you're watching on YouTube. It's because I had really bad Wi-Fi when we were shooting this, and I went back and re-listened to it, and the audio file was pretty corrupted. So we're reshooting, and that's why it might sound or look a little bit differently than it was that you were just listening to 15 seconds ago. Thanks for bearing with us.
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunate, but in many ways fortunate that it didn't happen on any of the other episodes. So we went
Yes.
11 for 12 with no real issues of this kind.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's been a few months since since we last read this. So like I re-listened to the bad audio and like it was funny. You told me about this when you were editing, where it's like it what it had done is it shifted your audio so that you were ahead.
Hmm.
And
By
so
like
like I would be
four
talking and
seconds.
you would like jump in and interrupt me is what it would sound like. In reality, we were
Hmm.
having a conversation. And then like you
Yeah.
would finish talking and it would be my turn to speak and I would just kind of sit there like
Kind of like
and
on
so
the news when they're talking to somebody out in the field and it takes them a while to answer. That's what it was like. It sounded like
yeah,
all my jokes were bombing, and then like
yeah.
you were taking a second to realize that you're supposed to laugh.
It
It was not a good listen.
it did. It sounded like you were interrupting everything I was saying and that I
Yeah.
was getting back at you by not responding to
Yeah.
anything you asked me. And so um maybe it would have been funny to just release it and have people be like, did they get in like a huge fight like halfway through the episode and
Yeah.
just like get really petty? But yeah, so I'm gonna try to jump back in. I think we're cutting right when I was talking about the story of Mr. Fenkel. So
Yep.
yeah, so we're jumping in there. So Steinbeck, he's already told this kind of story. He's kind of laid out the context of it, right? That like some of the
Hmm.
other towns had caught a German spy, maybe, right? And that Salinas, is feeling a little bit like, what are we doing to help? And they've identified this German man that had been in the town for years and years and had been kind of a fixture, and people liked him and people went to his business. And how the town kind of turned on him, right? He lost all his customers, people wouldn't talk to him. And Steinbeck tells his personal story. It's a firsthand account of a time where Mr. Fenkel is walking down the street towards him and his sister, and they pretend to greet him like they're friends, and he is happy and greets them back in return, and it says greets them by name. So like not only is he just being generally polite, he knows these two children.
Hmm.
Like he says hello, John.
They're acquaintances.
Um, yeah, they know each other. And then Steinbeck and his sister start yelling insults at him in German that they've like practiced for this moment.
Hmm.
Um, and the man like breaks down in tears and like runs off. And so and Steinbeck kind of describes feeling bad in the moment, like kind of it dawning on him that like that wasn't quite what I thought it
That
was.
wasn't the best thing to do. Our
Yeah.
synchronized hate crime was not
Yeah.
the best thing to do.
Exactly. Our well-rehearsed synchronized hate crime didn't feel good when I did it. And I'm sure looking back on it, like decades later, like he just feels terrible, right? Because,
Hmm.
like, I'm sure as an adult, he realizes that Mr. Fenkel was not a German spy, and
Hmm.
that he was very in the wrong to have done that. Um, but I like that he includes it, right? Because it gives you an idea that like really no one was like immune to the kind of like hatred and fervor that had been stirred up. Like Steinbeck's what, like 10 or 11, 12,
Yeah.
really young when this is happening. And he's out there like going out of his way to be really mean to Mr. Frankel.
Mm-hmm.
And it all kind of culminates where the men in the town, 30 men, get together and they burn Mr. Finkel's house down, and he loses everything and he has to leave. Um, and it's just it's what's interesting about it is that like it really highlights like how easy it is to get caught up in hatred. How like that particular emotion like stirs people to like action and to do things that they would never ever do.
Yeah.
And like I'm sure those men that burned Mr. Finkel's house down like a year or two earlier, if you had asked them like, "Hey, are you the kind of person that would like join in a mob and burn a man's house down just because of where he's from?" Like they would be like, "No."
The
Like,
man who tailors your clothes.
yeah, like, "Hey, you know Mr. Finkel, like the really nice German man, like would you ever like burn his house down?" Like they'd be like, "No, I would never do that." And like and there they are doing it, right?
Yeah.
Um and just overnight this man kind of becomes the enemy like completely falsely, like with no data or like it's not based in reality that these people are like
Hmm.
doing this. Like they're just caught up.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah. I think hatred has like more of a chain reaction to it than doing good deeds, which is weird because you do kind of get a bit of a high from doing something nice for somebody, but it never really like snowballs into I'm doing something nice for somebody and now I'm going to go to a soup kitchen and then I'm going to, take the shirt off my back and give it to somebody. But hatred can
there's
definitely
no like
spiral.
there's no kindness mob that's like
Yeah.
running around town. Yeah, no, I mean, and yeah, it's just I think it's relevant. It was relevant at the time, like, early 1900s, probably relevant around when Steinbeck's writing this in the
Hmm.
1950s. Um,
Cold War, right?
as
Going
we're
on
yeah, we're
then.
shifting into the Cold War where like people are just kind of existing with this like ember of hatred for people from other
Hmm.
countries with other beliefs. Like, I when how long after this comes out does is McCarthyism a thing? Where like people are like losing jobs because someone calls them a communist, and then it's relevant now. Like you know there's like sign up sheets
It's the thick of
with
it.
tens
Yeah.
of thousands of dollar bonuses if you want to join the hate crime crew and like go do horrible things to immigrant families.
Hmm.
And you know it's yeah. So what we see today is not new.
Hmm.
It's
It just
but
happens faster. And you don't need to rely on like word of mouth. You can rely on word of algorithm to really build
yeah.
up that hate crime
No, yeah, it's
mentality.
like, yeah, the hatred is like supercharged now. Like I just think it like scratches something in people's brains where it's like that guy's the enemy. We're gonna get him,
Well, yeah, we have to
and
prescribe
so
like a
like
face to something, you
yeah,
know?
and like suddenly like everything wrong that's gone wrong in your life, you're like it's because of that guy. He's doing it, and like we gotta burn his house down. We gotta do it, and I think another thing that I thought about with this was that like these men that like burned the house down, like they just went right back to living their lives. Like they had done something they ruined this man's
Hmm.
life for no reason except for the hatred that they had in their heart. And then they just went back to living their lives and they were probably pretty good people the rest of the time. Like they
Yeah.
were probably small business owners, they were probably teachers, they were probably ministers, just normal people.
Hmm.
And like they probably like their grandkids probably remembered them as like so loving, and they probably had really nice obituaries written, and like this night when they did this was not like part of their story as it's remembered by them and their family. Like, that's not who I am.
Hmm.
um or like like if years later like someone was 25 involved in this Mr. Fenkel thing,
Hmm.
and years later they're like on their deathbed, like no one's bringing up that like, oh, remember when he burned that German guy's house down because he was German. Like
Yeah.
it's all just like, like, oh, he was so nice, he
So
gave me this
such a
thing, and like,
passing moment for them. And then for Mr.
yeah.
Fenkel, it's like he probably thinks about that every day.
No, and that's the thing with like extreme
Yeah.
cruelty is that like you move on and maybe the rest of your life you're awesome, but like you did serious damage in that moment
Hmm.
and paid no consequence for it. and and just went on to be someone's grandpappy, um, and 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 yeah, and then someone's life was ruined. They're never the same.
Never the same.
Um, so just an interesting chapter. It does
Yeah.
seem like every time Steinbeck kind of lays out like, hey, here's what things were like in the early 1900s. Like it feels like very relevant to now. It's like, oh well,
Hmm.
that's what things are like right now, actually.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. In reality,
we just have
not much time
phones.
has passed between now and 1950 when it comes
Yeah,
to our ideologies. And
we're
I
doing a
like
lot of the
too
same
that
stuff.
Steinbeck, he's like setting this up right before we get this kind of like the Thanksgiving scene build up and what Adam has to be doing in the draft board, which is kind of his own emotions boiling. And Steinbeck, through his own personal story, lets us know the background of all these other tensions happening in the town where the Trask live and they have their own internal tensions brewing. So it's really building up.
Yeah, no, for sure. But it's a short chapter all in all. So
Short
that's
chapter,
pretty much
but
all
a
of it.
lot to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, chapter 47. Adam gets appointed to the draft board. He's following his father's footsteps in some leadership decision making position thanks to his experience. But unlike his father, he actually had some legit military experience in the field. And there's a portion of it where like Adam can't remember the war specifically, like certain things that he had done right. And it's almost the exact inverse of Kate 2 chapters ago, where she is able to reconstruct so many memories so vividly. And it's like she's doing it on such a regular basis that she's harboring things. And I do think that that kind of shows again these two polar opposites of Kate and Adam, where Adam, it's really bad to let everything go in your life to the point where you can't remember anything. Like it kind of ruins who you are as a human, who you can be as a father. And then Kate shows us what it's like to never let anything go and how that can also kind of ruin who you are and ruin your soul a little bit. So interesting opposites there.
Yeah, we get a few examples of the holding on. Like earlier in this section of chapters, like that's kind of what Joe Valeri does, right? Where
Yeah.
he's stewing on all these things and like holding on to things and thinking about someone that did you wrong and like it definitely makes you a nasty person
Hmm.
and it doesn't benefit. I don't think it benefits you. Like I think you get almost no benefit from like having a photographic memory of everyone that didn't treat you just right.
Hmm.
Um, but you're right
Like
that
that
Adam
Black
on the
Mirror
other
episode.
side, that Black Mirror, that's the first one, isn't it? No, is it?
That's like the no. The first one is one that people don't even want to talk about.
Oh yeah, yeah, is that one? Oh.
Yeah, if you recommend Black
I
Mirror to
can't.
somebody, you always say
I
start with
cannot
episode 2.
believe there was an episode two.
Right.
That's that's a crazy way to start a show. Um, I like started with like season four of Black Mirror, and like so like started with that, and then like liked season four, and like went back and watched them.
Hmm.
If episode season one episode one had been the first episode I'd seen, I would have been like, I'm out.
Yeah,
Um,
I
like,
can't do this.
like thanks but no thanks, buddy. Anyway, but like you said, Adam's on the other side. Where like Adam just like doesn't just can't comprehend the past. Like he can't handle it, and like
Yeah,
in some ways it maybe spares him some trauma. Like he probably can't remember the people he killed when he was
sniping
in the
them
army, but
from a
like
yard's
he
away.
also
Yeah.
like we see in this section of chapters, and I believe the section before this, where like him and Cal had like discussed this plan to like help Aaron not find out who his mom was, and it involved Cal not going to college. And then
Hmm.
like in this section of chapters, Adam keeps on like being like, Cal, why are you at school? Like, why don't you go to college? And it's like, you talked about this, man. You gotta
Yeah,
like focus,
live it.
please.
Yeah, live in the. He's because I don't think he's living in the moment enough to like register that this should be a memory. I think he
Yeah,
just is just going through life on
kind of
complete
floating on
autopilot.
by. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt with a Black Mirror tangent. So you go
No,
ahead.
you're good. You're good. Yeah. So Adam, what his job to do on this draft board committee is, if you boil it down to what it is, he's sending people out to go fight in war in Europe and then probably die, more than likely die. And so he's breaking up families left and right. And he's doing it with like such a strictness and such an obedience to his role that he is like losing a little bit of himself. And I know we were saying doesn't have much to lose, but he's losing a little bit more of him because he's just so by the book. And even in his role, he thinks, okay, well, if Cal or Aaron's name comes along, they're going out. I'm not going to use my role or my power to make that change. And so because he's so no nonsense and he's putting all this on himself, then when people that he sends out do go die, he blames himself. And you would think it'd almost be like, I'm going to be so no nonsense, but then when people go out and die, who cares? Like that's my role. I knew that was going to happen. But he's like taking the worst parts of both, where he's putting all the stress on himself, sending people out, and then putting all this even more stress on himself by thinking, I'm the one who did this because I sent them out into the world. And I think he just wants to suffer. He's just super mopey, wants to feel sorry all the time. And this position allows him to do all that. This is maybe the worst thing that could happen to him at this point in time, is to have this position.
Yeah, yeah, it's an I was trying to make sense of his kind of position here, where like he talks to, is it Henry is the guy he talks to? Is like,
Mm-hmm.
and he makes it very clear like he doesn't like to send people off to war. Like he that it pains him, right? And he
Yeah.
hurts when people die. And and then the narrator, Steinbeck, describes that like he goes like over the top to like make people go. Because
Mm-hmm.
like I imagine in the position Adam's in, if he didn't want to send people to war and like someone showed up and got like drafted and kind of and like showed up at their thing and like they were like, oh, I'm like, and like we're clearly really scared and really didn't want to go, because some people did want to go, some people had the
Yeah.
fervor, right? And you could probably send them no problem. But like if someone's like really scared and like clearly not handling it well, like Adam could probably bend the rules here and there and be like, oh, like this person, I think they might have asthma. I don't even know if they had asthma back then, but like whatever it would be, I think asthma did exist.
Yeah,
Um,
I think it did.
don't fact check me, but like Adam could find a way to not send certain people.
For sure.
But it's
He had
almost
that
like he
sway.
feels like if he were to do that for some people, it would make him even more responsible for the people he does send. So he like kind of wraps himself into this position where he's like, no, I have to send everyone so that it's fair.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so it is interesting. I think we see that that's kind of in a human trait. Not everyone is like this. In fact, most people probably aren't, but there are people that you meet where they like they feel very strongly about something and
Mm-hmm.
they still like they're like and they just do the opposite of what they feel. Like where Adam doesn't want to be sending people out to war, but like just kind of works himself into a position where he's sending even more people off to war than he needs to.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so it's an interesting
Mm-hmm.
way that
Yeah.
he's decided to be.
Yeah. He's not great. He's not great.
Just
Anyways,
disappointing.
he's very disappointing. So I really want to know what his dad would think of all this. I'm sure his dad would have done it this in a similar fashion, sending these people out with this strictness for the law. So we go back to the house after another day in the draft boardroom, and there's a little bit of a conversation between Adam and Lee, where Adam's essentially describing to Lee these feelings of having this responsibility of all these people getting killed, and he's like, "Is it me causing this?" And Lee asks him, "Is it the responsibility or the blame that bothers you?" And I think that is a really great question to ask Adam. And I don't think that Adam is in a state to even let that question open his eyes at all, because they
Hmm.
start talking about Tim Shell. And at one point, I'm like, Lee, when are you going to realize you're kind of talking to a brick wall here? Maybe Lee is doing this for the benefit of just us, the reader, almost.
Yeah.
But Lee does love him. I mean, he went to San Francisco and then came back like 2 days later. But
Yeah.
Lee drops a really good line where he says, "All great and precious things are lonely." And I'll touch on that a little bit more in my East of Ethan. But it's kind of like how Sam Hamilton was able to separate himself once he internalized this Tim Shell, this greatness, and truly embodied it. And that made him a little bit lonelier. And I think that maybe Lee was trying to tell Adam, you're lonely because you're doing something hard. I don't know what Lee was doing here, because I don't think Lee thinks that Adam's doing something great. or he's doing something precious. But I think Lee's just dropping some bars here. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on why he would have told Adam that there in that situation?
Like the difference between responsibility and blame is basically like they've given Adam this responsibility to like run the draft board, right? Um, and so like Adam has to do it. Someone has to run the draft board,
Yeah.
and the responsibility's been given to Adam. And whether or not Adam runs the draft board, like maybe if he had refused and he had stayed home, like the draft board was still going to get run, and boys were still going to get sent off to die in the war. And so that's the responsibility, is that like, hey, this is happening. Nothing you do can stop it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to you either can play a role in it directly or you can play a role in it indirectly. And so that's sorry, I'm choking. That's the responsibility. And the blame is, like when the kid dies and people are sad, like that they find that it's your fault. That they decide that it's your fault, which it doesn't sound like
And I don't
people are
think any
coming
parents
after him.
like, this was you.
Yeah, there's no
Yeah.
story where a parent runs in and blames Adam, right? And so that might like it might be that running the draft board, it's not like it's a great thing, but it is a responsibility that he's been given. And
Mm-hmm.
and and so that I think that's kind of what Lee's referring to, where it's like all great things are lonely, right? You've been given this responsibility to send people off to the war. It's a great responsibility. Like it's not a small responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
You're not, you haven't been
You're
charged
saying
with like,
great as in magnitude, not great
yeah,
as in this is awesome. Okay.
yeah, not it's not great like so you've been given this responsibility and you have to bear it and it's going to be lonely, right? Because like no one else is going to jump in there and be like, hey, let's do this. Like I guess he's got the Henry
Mm-hmm.
guy, but like
Yeah.
it's not like the blame of these people dying is spread out, right? There's a
Mm-hmm.
pretty direct link from like you make them go to war, they die, and it's your responsibility to do that. If you don't do it, someone else is going to do it, but it's your responsibility, and so that's why it's
Yeah.
lonely.
Well said. Yeah. So they have this conversation. Lee has this conversation in Adam's vicinity because I don't think Adam's picking up anything. And then we get a little bit of Aaron, and he's a bit like Adam, where they're both just well, he's a bit like Adam when Adam was first with Kate, where they're both trapped in these imagined versions of themselves and of others, and they just can't reconcile this fantasy they built up with the truth that is their lives. Because Adam is creating this version of Aaron in his mind that isn't really Aaron. He's thinking of Aaron out there doing all this great studying and Stanford and da da da. And then Aaron at Stanford is hating life because he's dreamt up this dream so big and so grand of how incredible Leland Stanford University is going to be. And then when he gets there, people are doing college things. And he's this pure guy. He's been a little altar boy. And the the college experience is not what he thought it was going to be. And he's far away from Avery, he's far away from his family, and so he's super homesick. And so the homesickness built up with him realizing this wasn't what he thought it would be crushes him. And it made me think of, I guess, Japanese people really idealize Paris. And they build up Paris in their minds so much. And then when they go to Paris and they see a little bit grimy, there's all these panhandlers, pickpockets. There's been some people that when they get to Paris, they throw up because they can't, like, they get actually sick because they can't wrap their minds around it not being this fantasy that they had. And I think that's kind of happening to Aaron here with the idea of Stanford. So he's writing letters every night to Abra. This helps him kind of purify himself and his day. And then his plan is when he gets back to Thanksgiving, he's not coming back. He's going to serve 2.5 months at Leland Stanford University, and then he's going to go live with Abra in a state of peace and purity, hidden away from the ugliness of the world. So his high expectations for himself are crashing down because he can't. It's not like he has it within him to fulfill these high expectations or to at least adjust. Okay, I thought it was going to be like this, not like that. Let me change my mindset. But he doesn't want to change. He doesn't want to do any changing.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a pretty lame attempt. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
like some people do drop out of school, right? Like, it happens, but like halfway through your first, like Thanksgiving is like 2 months into the semester and you're done. Like,
Yeah.
you're
You
like,
haven't even
no, these
taken a
people are,
final yet?
yeah, no, it's like, but, and that experience of like going to somewhere that's supposed to be the next great chapter of your life and having it be either not what you thought it was, having it be disappointing, having it be difficult. Um, that happens kind of throughout your life. I think
Mhm.
it can happen to you as a kid when you change schools, right? You keep, you go to, elementary, middle school, high school. Maybe at one of those stops, you have big expectations that it's going to be awesome.
Mhm.
Maybe it falls a little flat going off to college, right? Like Aaron experienced, like you think it's going to be one way, it's another, and you're not
Mhm.
happy about it. Like graduating from college, joining the workforce, like you're like, I'm gonna have this beautiful career. Maybe it's harder than you thought. Maybe the people you work with aren't cool or nice.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean that's as far as I've gotten in life. But like, I imagine as you keep on like hitting these like life milestones, um, there can
You just need
be
to
there can be
recalibrate. Oh,
there
yeah.
can be disappointments, right? And not that they all have to be. Like I don't think the experience of like going to college and having it not be what you hoped is universal. I think there's plenty of people that go to school and it's like perfect, exactly what I wanted.
Mhm.
But I think everyone has a moment like what Aaron's experienced, but just being disappointed.
I'd like to see Aaron try going to school in rural Idaho.
He would have liked that school. Um,
He might
he
have.
would have he would have had a great time. Um, but yeah, so I don't know. You do just hope that that when you face those disappointments, you handle it a lot better than what
Mhm.
Aaron goes through, right? Where he
Yeah.
basically decides to give up on trying to move forward in his life and that he's gonna like go just live on his father's land that they already own
Mhm.
and just kind
Not
of
work. Just hang out
yeah.
with his
He basically
girl.
watched his own dad and he was like, that's what I want to do. Like
He
um
did. He probably did. He's like, yeah, this guy did it. I guess he turned
this
out all
guy's
right.
got a
He got
great gig. Every
two
20 years
inheritances.
someone dies and gives him $1 million.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I imagine that inspired some of that attitude in him.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's it for 47.
Yeah. So 48 starts off with a bang.
The
48, you read the
craziest
first
bang.
sentence, singe your eyebrows. You're like,
Yeah,
I had
I kind of wiped that character out of my mind.
you're like, I had forgotten the name of the other whorehouse in the Salinas Valley. Well, um, the proprietor of isn't it called the Green Mile? Isn't it the name of the whorehouse?
I don't think it's the Green Mile.
It's not. It's called
It's
something.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, the proprietor of the third
Whorehouse
whorehouse
number
in
three.
whorehouse number
Yeah.
3 um, passes away, and I believe it's just Joe that attends the funeral, right? Because Kate doesn't attend it. Um,
Yeah, just at least from that house, right? From
yeah.
Kate's.
Well, I think some of
Yeah.
the whores go too, but Joe's the one who
Yeah.
we're with
Right.
in the story, and so Joe is at this funeral, and he's talking to a man named Alf, who I think we've met. I think has popped in before, maybe not.
Yeah.
Um,
Just another stock character that he wanted to throw down to
yeah,
give us
yeah,
another slice of life character.
yeah, and so. Um, Alf knows that Joe works for Kate, and Alf is a gossip, right? That's kind of his whole deal. He likes to
Hmm.
talk it up. And Alf wants information from Joe about Kate, about what she doing, what she got going on, all that sort of stuff. And um, to try to get this information, Alf offers Joe a whole bunch of old gossip. Basically tells Joe
Yeah.
a bunch of the stuff that we as the reader already know in the story.
Hmm.
Um, and so Joe doesn't really bite on any of it. Does Joe give him anything? Not really. But I think Joe does learn
No.
some stuff. Like I don't think Joe knew everything that we knew.
Yeah.
And so Joe kind of stiffs Al on the gossip, but then he goes and meets with Kate And he kind of starts the next step of his plot, right? Remember, he was
Hmm.
kind of scheming, kind of thinking. I don't even know why. Like, I feel like what you
Yeah,
can
he was just
gain
getting
versus
ahead
what
of
you can
himself.
lose. Yeah,
Yeah, because he's been holding on to this idea of I'm going to eventually float out that Ethel's around again.
yeah. Because
Yeah.
he basically discovered that she's dead, but he came back to Kate and he told her that no one knew what had happened to her, and so he kind of floats it to Kate that like, hey, I think someone saw Ethel. Um, and Kate kind of pivots from what her story had been as well, and she kind of shifts her story because she had told Joe that Ethel had stolen something that she wanted back. And Kate kind of shifts it to where she's like, I actually just want to apologize for running her out of town. I shouldn't have done that. And
Hmm.
that's kind of like they're both kind of going back and forth, like who's lying, who's telling the
Hmm.
truth. It's a very tense conversation.
And I'm sure that
Um,
she's throwing Joe for a loop because I don't know if he's the brightest tool in the shed to like keep both his lies and his stories internalized and also try to remember what she's told him.
yeah,
So yeah, I think it puts him on some uneven footing here with her.
yeah. So that's kind of like she's kind of going lie for lie with him as far as the plotting, and his plot is not advancing.
Hmm. Not a game you want
Um,
to play with Kate.
no, it's not going to work out for him. So he leaves, and then Kate does ask one of her whores about the whoremaster's funeral that had happened.
Hmm.
Um, and it's an interesting conversation. The whore kind of reports back. It was very plain. It was very quiet. Like no one was
Yeah,
overly exuberant or expressive. No one was sobbing, but like it was respectful.
but
And
people
I
were
think Kate's
there.
just
But
yeah, people
people
were
were
there. I
there.
think Kate's just curious because out of all the people in the world, like this person that died is probably as similar to Kate as exists, right? Like someone with
Yeah.
the exact same job in the exact same city. And so Kate, like a lot of people, is just kind of curious, like, how's my eventual death going to be received, right? Like, I think
Hmm.
a lot of people kind of like you kind of see that in like TV shows and cartoons where like someone fakes their death and then they're like hiding behind a tree and like trying to listen to what people are saying about them.
Yeah.
Um, Kate's kind of doing that with this, where she's like, what would people say about me if I died?
Hmm.
And it's kind of different because she's really lived most of her life only thinking about herself. And I don't know if it's like her old age. She's probably what, 50 at this point? Like she's not
I'd say
super
so.
old.
Yeah.
But she's older than she was. She can no longer like pass as a child, which was kind of her go-to move for a
Having a hard
long
time with her
time.
hands,
Yeah.
self-conscious about her
And
hands and
so I
her
think,
weight.
her mortality is just kind of in her
To the
face a little bit.
forefront.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think she might be realizing that her big plan to go get back at Mr. Edwards, it might not be happening. Like she might not be able to have that in her to go catch him, run him down, exploit all these people whose photographs she has. And so maybe she is finally seeing my life might just end right here in Salinas in King City.
Yeah. That's all I had for this chapter. Was there anything else that I'm forgetting?
No, it just made me kind of think that I need to maybe tune into some more people that I could use as measuring sticks for myself, and go attend their funerals and see
Like,
what's going
is
on.
there who is about my age and like
Yeah, I'll just keep
fortunate
tabs on
not
them.
a lot of people our age have died. Um,
Yeah,
well, I mean
I'm
in the
not
world,
saying.
yes, but like that we know.
Yeah, right. Yeah, thank goodness.
Yeah. All right, chapter
Yeah,
49.
49. Here we go.
Yeah.
It's Aaron's arrival day. Adam's excited. He's predicting my son's going to be a changed man. He's been changed by this experience. And I think that he's kind of saying this, like implying that it's experience that Cal does not have. And this is just going to be a day of Cal taking repeated beatings and trying his best to eat these punches that are coming his way. So they all go to the station to meet him. Abra gets there even before they do, and they were already there an hour early. When Aaron arrives, he kind of tells his family and us, the reader, maybe who he cares about the most by how he greets them. He hugs Abra first immediately, and then just shakes Adam and Cal's hands, and then really squeezes Lee, gives him a big hug. So Abra and Lee are the most important people in his life. At least that's what I'm picking up from this. And Erin's walking Abra home that evening, and she's sort of doing that thing where you test and see where another person's at, whether it be in your relationship or your friendship or just how they're doing mentally. And she's letting him quickly know that there's some serious thing that she wants to talk about, but she's not going to do it right now. She's kind of keeping her cards close to her chest. And she also lets him know that he can't come into her house that night because they'll be seeing each other more throughout the week. And I think she's playing her cards well enough here where Erin's kind of thinking, what is my girlfriend thinking? Because Erin eventually asks, do you still want to be with me? And she says yes, but I don't think it's the most enthusiastic yes. But nonetheless, he's content with that and he leaves. But it does kind of leave the feeling that Abra was maybe hoping he'd fight a little bit more or maybe dig some more questions. I don't know how Abra would have responded. Would she have told him the hard truth there? Would Erin have fighting for it a little bit more, maybe earned some more love from her? We'll never know. But I think Erin maybe played it the best he could there, knowing what he wanted to do eventually. So
Yeah, it's like an interesting, like they're definitely kind of feeling each other out. Like I think she's kind of reached this point where she doesn't want to be with him really as much as she used
no,
to. Um, but he really wants her,
yeah,
and so like it's hard to tell if he can tell that she doesn't want to be with him.
yeah, it is weird.
Um,
You can't really tell that, and I do think that it's also like they've only dated each other, and so I don't think Abra has experience breaking up with somebody, and so this also
no, yeah,
seems like something you do as
mhm.
a teenager, is maybe almost hope that the other
That
person
the
would
other
say,
person,
"I don't want to be with you," instead of you having to come out and say it.
yeah, yeah. No, I remember with my like first real girlfriend in high school, it, like when I wanted to break up with her, I do remember like contemplating like, what if I was just like really annoying for a few weeks and see if she breaks up with me. And then I
Yeah,
decided against it. I did like pull it together and do it, but um I know where Opera's coming from, where
yeah,
she's like she's like, what if I just like don't let him in my house and then like keep telling
yeah,
him I want to talk about something but then don't talk about it like
yeah.
it's like and try to get
So
try to convince this other person to break up with you.
yeah,
Um,
if they have this scene in the show, it will be interesting to see how they direct it for Aaron, the actor,
yeah.
to make it seem like if he's picking it up or if he's just like, "Oh, why, sure, Abra, I love you too. I'll see you tomorrow."
Yeah, yeah.
So they get back to the Trask home, and Cal's wrapping presents because he's got his whole planned for Thanksgiving. And Aaron waits no time in telling him what his plan is. He doesn't want to go back to college. And Cal's pretty shocked because they planned this together. He was kind of his partner in this plan. And Cal even says that he wants to eventually be partners with Aaron, but he needs Aaron to build this foundation of business at school. And so Cal's recommendation, which I think is the best advice to give, just finish the term out. And I'm guessing Cal will think you finish the term out, you get some it under your feet, you'll be able to finish it. And one thing that's interesting to me here is either Cal or Aaron says something like talk quietly so dad doesn't hear. And it's such an insight into how Adam behaves around his children, where he always wants to be in the loop, but then once in the loop, he forgets he was ever there, kind of like what we're talking
Yeah.
to earlier. Yeah.
Hmm.
But the present that Cal has is his bean money, 15 crisp, stiff $100 bills that he's going to give his dad. So now it's the morning of Thanksgiving. That was all Thanksgiving Eve. Cal's walking around town. He's nervous about that evening. Uh, Cal also is very comfortable on the streets. He knows a lot of people. I think he's way more well liked than he leads us to believe, or leads himself to believe, anyways. And Cal thinks that this is his day. He's been the one who's earned this Thanksgiving day, this offering. It's not Aaron's. And it's almost like he's overthinking this day and idealizing this day, like Aaron is overthinking college and idealizing his relationship with Abra and his relationship with his university. So I think the worst thing you can do as a man from this story is idealize your life and then get let down. You've got to be a lot more even with things. But as he's feeling this, he kind of maturely starts to dissect why he's feeling like he deserves this day. And he realizes that there's some sort of jealousy towards Aaron and tries to sort of beat himself out of it. But he realizes and even says it out loud, I'm giving this gift for my own personal gain, for my own benefit. And I know why my dad favors Aaron. It's because Aaron looks the most like our mom. And I think it could be too that Adam recognizes Aaron as like another kindred spirit because he definitely acts the most like Adam, looks like Kate. No wonder Adam's going to favor Aaron. And he comes to this conclusion after a few moments of self reflection that he likes to beat himself up as a way of self protection. And his final decision here, before we get into Thanksgiving dinner, is that he's going to give the gift and forget it, and then also give the day to Aaron. So he's gonna come out of this giving two gifts instead of one, and we'll see how that goes. And we know it's not going to go exactly like he's planning, but at least he had the thought there, right, Nate, that he could give up his selfishness just for a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, we might talk about this more in a second, but and I think this is kind of my Nate's take for this episode. So I don't want to step on it too much, but
Okay.
I'm really intrigued by like this part of the thought process because like it would be one thing if Cal had sort of deluded himself into thinking like I'm gonna give this gift and it's gonna be great and everyone's gonna be happy, but like you kind of get a window into his thoughts, and it's clear it does at least occur to him that he does kind of have selfish intentions for this, where like yes, he loves his father and wants to give his father something, but like part of this at least is about showing up his brother,
Mm-hmm.
and part of it is about like being the winner of Thanksgiving. Um and it's interesting because like once you have that thought or realization, you can't really put that back in the box. Like
Yeah.
once you realize that you're being selfish, like all you can do is try to justify the selfishness. You can't undo the realization that what you're doing is selfish.
Mm-hmm.
Um and so I think it's a disappointing moment for Cal. It's very human, right? He's a teenager. Um so but yeah, but I
Yeah.
guess we'll get into that in a minute with Nate's takes and also with what follows here.
With what transpires, yeah. So they sit down for Thanksgiving dinner, and just pay attention to the blows that Cal receives today and what he had yesterday. So Cal sits down, and his dad doesn't even notice him that he's sitting down. And then Adam starts getting in talking about knowledge and how knowledge can be so great for just one man. And it's so sad that each man will just know a little fragment of all the knowledge. And I think Adam is kind of talking here of like, look at my boy going off to college and all this knowledge he's getting. And that's something that it's like he's subtweeting Cal because it's like Cal's not getting this knowledge, Aaron's getting all this knowledge, and it's so great. And then Cal tries to interject a little bit. He's like, "Hey, Dad, I got a plan for your ice plant," and Adam just brushes him off. "Hey, let's talk about it Monday. We're here with Aaron." And so it's almost like three back to back to back dismissals that is slowly eroding away at Cal's plan to just give these gifts and be selfless. And Abra finally rushes in, so the gang's all here. And Cal's also drinking a little bit, and so he's got some liquid confidence. And he just finally gives his dad the gift. So he's determined, I'm going to give the gift. Now, what will his reaction be? Adam opens the gift, thumbs through all the money, and he's pretty astounded at what he's looking at. And the first thing that he wants to know is, where'd you get this? And Cal's sort of fumbling through his words. He's not super convincing at all. He's like, Dad, I got this for you. There were beans, and I was with the Hamilton. And he's not really making the best case for himself. And Adam tells his son that he's got to give the money back to the farmers that he robbed.
Tough.
Ooh.
It's not good.
He's calling Cal a thief. Cal just did more work over the past few months to get tons of money than Adam's ever done in his entire life. And he's being called a thief by his dad in front of Abra, his girl, in front of his brother, who is being told to his face is like more successful and smarter than him, it's easy to see why he breaks and why he does what he does.
It's a tough one. It's like this is like I don't know if this is a tweet or what meme this is from, but it's sort of like it's like, don't worry, bro, the worst she can say is no, and then she says ew. And like
Don't worry. The
like
worst your dad can say is, "I'm not accepting this."
like I don't even know what you would think is the worst thing you could say. Like if someone gives
Yeah.
you the modern day equivalent of $500,000, like you don't
Well,
if you're
I guess
giving
the
that to
worst thing is
someone,
he does say it. He says, "I like the idea of the present." So I guess for this meme, the worst thing you can say is, I like." It's the thought that counts for this gift.
the thought that counts is tough. If you've ever
Yeah.
given a gift and the person's been like, "Oh, well, it's the thought that counts," and like you, they just smoked you, bro. Like it's they hated that. Whatever you
Yeah.
gave them, it was awful and
Yeah. Bad gift giver.
um, bad gift. You never want the person receiving a gift from you to be like, "Thanks for
Yeah.
the thought." Like, no, the gift. I gave you a gift. I didn't give you
Hmm.
a thought. And they're like, the only thing I like about this is the thought. So
Hmm.
it's
Yeah.
yeah.
And so we get a little bit into maybe why Adam is so bent on this because he is almost thinking that like if he earns this money that there's a little bit of war profiteering going on because he's the one sending the the teenagers out to war to battle, and then Cal made this money off of the beans thanks to the war, the bean price going up, and so there is maybe a little bit of guilt there from Adam, but he totally handles it wrong, and it's
And
just
and there's no way Cal could have seen that angle coming.
yeah,
Like Cal
there's no
Cal has
way.
no idea that his dad is like torturing himself about his job. Um,
Yeah, maybe if Cal wasn't wandering the streets every night and was just listening to the conversations Adam was having with Lee about, I mean, I'm blaming myself so much for all these kids dying. Maybe he would have foreseen the angle, but tough for the Cal heads.
I don't think Cal like I'm like it is a bit of a leap for Adam to be like this is because of the war, and it is like and like Cal did know like that was part of the business plan with Will, where they were
Hmm.
like, oh, there's going to be a war and people are going to need beans, so let's have a lot of beans to sell when there's a war.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's not like the war didn't factor in at all, but I don't think as like a 17-year-old you're like I'm war profiteering. Like
Hmm.
I don't think Cal was like I'm just like Dick Cheney. Like we're the same. Like um
Yeah.
I like and maybe you could probably put that on Will a little bit.
I'll put it on
But
Will. Will
yeah.
know.
Yeah, Will was rubbing his hands together. He
Yeah.
was like I wish I owned missiles. But yeah, so it's not gift is not
It's not
going
good.
well.
It essentially ends Thanksgiving, like the
Yeah.
meal,
Hmm.
because Aaron goes out walking as he loves doing. I would love to see his step count if he was wearing some sort of Apple Watch during this. I'm sure he's
Yeah.
racking up 15,000 steps a day. So he's out
Yeah,
walking,
easy.
runs into Aaron in the evening, and says, hey, bro, I'm going to go and take you to show you a surprise.
Mm.
And then cut. And the chapter ends with a scene at the Army recruiting office. And we don't know who exactly is there. We're getting a little bit of the description, but we know it's a young boy who's claiming to be 18, doesn't look like he's 18. And the recruiters are remarking of how beautiful the boy is. And that's where we kind of know we know who this is now. There's only one beautiful boy in this story.
Yeah,
And it sure isn't Cal. It sure is not Cal.
the Steinbeck has gone out of his way to be like, there's one beautiful boy in this book, and his name is
Yeah.
Aaron. And
Yep.
yeah, so again, interesting that Steinbeck loves to make big moments happen like off screen,
Hmm.
which is a weird term to use for a book, but that's what happens where it's like
Yeah.
Aaron meeting Kate like could have been this explosive chapter, and Steinbeck's just
Hmm.
like, and you'll never know, I guess.
Yeah.
And, um, so yeah, so tough one there. I mean, yeah, the Adam part isn't really part of my Nate's take, so I'll jump in on that. Like Adam, as like the full grown adult, I think has a responsibility to handle this gift a lot better
Hmm.
um, than he does, right? Because a lot of the issues I have with Cal, with like the selfishness um, and that sort of stuff, like. there's an aspect of he's very young, and
Okay.
young people are selfish. 17 might be the most selfish age. I don't know if there's an age at which you're thinking of yourself more than like at 17.
Hmm.
All right, yeah. Sorry, we've had to cut a few times. My son's having a rough night, so you've maybe been able to hear him over the course of the pod. He likes to reach out. And this apartment's not big enough for for him not to be heard.
You're
The
telling me you
but yeah,
don't
like
have high quality professional podcasting equipment in your
I know
apartment?
that this background makes it seem like I am a man of great wealth. Alas, no. The um yeah, so Aaron, Cal's at this age where selfishness is obviously unfortunate, but to be expected to a certain degree.
Hmm.
Um, and Adam's an adult who's lived through a lot of stuff. And so I kind of put it on Adam a little bit to take the gift. I mean, he has the wherewithal to appreciate the thought, and it's like you need to understand that the thought is very tender,
Hmm.
and like, and if you react poorly, it's gonna do something bad to your son,
Hmm.
who you have very obliviously been like throwing verbal elbows at all morning.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, he just does a poor job all in all. Like accusing him of being a thief,
Hmm.
uh, telling him he'd rather him go to school than give him this money. Because like the fatherly sentence, like where Adam says, "I would rather you have gone to college yourself than have given
Hmm.
me all this money." That's a nice thought that your father would rather you have a better life than have you give him something. Like I think that's fatherly. Um, but once the money has been handed to you, the
Hmm.
effort to get the money is already in the past.
Yeah.
Like if Cal had told Adam, "Hey Dad, I'm not going to go to college. Instead, I'm going to do a big business plan with Will Hamilton and make a bunch of money for you." And
Hmm.
Adam had been like, "Son, thank you, but don't do that. Go to college."
Yeah.
I think that's a great interaction. Nobody's hurt.
Right.
Um, but the money's there. Like Cal already didn't go to college. Cal already worked a lot to get this money. And so when you're
Hmm.
like, "I don't want you to do this. I want you to be like your brother," like
Hmm.
you're pushing him in a wrong direction.
Right.
So
And the war was going to happen whether Cal was selling beans at 2 cents a pound or not. Also,
that's true. He didn't have a stake in it. He
he
didn't
didn't. Yeah.
start the war to sell beans.
Right. And
So
sometimes
you know
it
what?
feels
He's
like
really
he's kind
he's
of
really not
treating him
that
like
similar
that.
to Dick Cheney. I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah. We'll
Apologies to
edit that out.
Cal. Yeah, edit out me comparing Cal to Dick Cheney. They are not the same.
No. But yeah, it's a interesting scene. It's emotional. There's a lot of emotions going on. A lot of a lot of selfishness going on from a lot of people. Selfishness either as obliviousness or as plans over what they're going to do around the dinner table. But yeah, just a tough family dinner. And now we'll
Yeah,
see.
not great.
It's set us up really well for the final 50. It feels like there's a lot to be done in 50 pages here for this last little bit.
Yeah. All right. Are we done with the chapter summaries? We're on to the takes.
Nate's takes.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. So Nate's take. So this one is more about Cal. I want to just kind of talk a little bit more about his kind of realization about some of his motivations. And I talked a little bit about how you can't put it back in the box once you realize you're being selfish, right? All you can do is justify it. And his justification was that like he kind of convinces them like, no, actually, me giving him the money won't be about making it all about me. I'll give him the money and somehow it will still be about Aaron. And it's like that's not even possible. Like
Yeah.
if you're at a family dinner and you plunk down, I keep saying it is the equivalent of a half a million, right? That's didn't we do the math and that's what it was.
I think so.
Um,
It's a good
if you
amount.
you plunk down $500,000 in a suitcase at Thanksgiving dinner and think that the conversation's going to just shift to someone else, that's delusional. Like it's about you now,
Yeah.
man. Like you put the money on the table. But he like convinces himself. He's like, no, I'm just gonna give the money like real quick and quiet, and it won't be about me. It'll be about Aaron. It'll be fine. And like you still want it to be about you. Like you still do.
Hmm.
But here's the other thing is that like Cal's very introspective and he does seem to know himself. So it's like if you gotta like self scout a little bit, where it's like you have to um you kind of have to know like, hey, I've put a lot of work into this, and if it's not received well, am I gonna do something bad? Because like there's no way that the moment that Adam rejects the gift, that's the first time it occurs to him, like, I'm gonna show Aaron our mom to ruin his life. Like,
Hmm.
that's a thought that's occurred to him before when he's been angry at Aaron. He's been like, I could just show him our mom, and it would definitely mess him up. And and it's like you kind of have to know, like, hey, if I do this thing that I've already acknowledged is a little bit selfish and a little bit misguided, um, and it doesn't go well, like, am I gonna do something horrible?
Hmm.
And 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 if the answer is yes, you have to say, I'm not gonna do it then.
Yeah. Get out of that decision tree.
You gotta remove the outcome where you ruin your brother's life completely from the whole equation. Um, and so there's that. And then the other thing I'm interested in is after this, like, doesn't Lee talk to Cal a little bit and tell him that Adam can't help it? Isn't
He
that?
does. Yeah, he talks to Cal and says, yeah, that's just his nature. It's almost a
Yeah,
little bit like the opposite of what we've heard Lee preach in the past. But yeah, go on.
yeah. So this was another thing I wanted to hit on where it was like, because yeah, just like you said, like it's pretty much the opposite. Like they've been talking about this Tim Shell thing where it's all about you get to make your choices, you get to, you know, you're the master of your own kind of destiny here.
Hmm.
And then something goes wrong, and Lee tries to tell Cal like he can't help it. It's just who he is. When that's really not something that Lee believes.
Yeah.
Um,
Lee believes you
eh,
can help it at
yeah,
every moment. Yeah.
uh-huh. And so I do just think it's more of a moment where that's like a good like strategy for dealing with people that are outside your control where like you have to hold yourself accountable to like to understand that you're responsible for your choices, but then it is sometimes helpful when you're dealing with someone who's unreasonable just to be like that's who they are, because
Hmm.
if you like you're just not going to make it if you're trying to be like if you're getting that upset about someone else's choices and what they choose to do, like you do just kind of like you got to kind of like block it off and be like nothing I can do about that.
Hmm.
That's who they are. Even though they do every time they make a choice, they have the option to choose not to do that. You have to be like, no, they basically
Yeah.
have no choice. Like that's just who they are,
Yeah.
and I
I
have to get
feel good
over it.
about what I've done. Whatever they do, that's what they're doing.
That's what
And
they're
it
doing.
won't
Yeah.
and it won't affect me. Way easier said than done.
Oh, way easier said than done. Yeah, but I think that's what Lee means there. Because that was also something that stood out to me as well. But that's the Nate's take right there.
I like it. All right, East of Ethan. We're going to talking about the quote that Lee says in the start of this chunk of chapters that all great and precious things are lonely. And we already kind of touched on it pretty well here, but it reminded me a little bit of when I was in elementary school. There was something called the GT program for the gifted and talented. And basically, it was like 4 or 5 kids, other third graders, that they had deemed special or great and precious. And they would get almost like Tuesday where they would go have their own little learning session away from the rest of us. And whether it was intentional or not, it kind of delineated us from them. They kind of created these 2 tiers of these other people, the smart people, the GT, and the non GT. And it's got me thinking of the rest of the novel, where society or ourselves will isolate these gifted and talented, these great and precious because they're different, or maybe people will do it themselves because they think they're different and they need to be away from the rest of the world. Kind of how Aaron thinks he's more pure, more precious than the rest of the world. He has to be away from the ugliness of the world. And so he removes himself, Aaron. He removes himself from the world. He builds up. He goes and has this university experience in Stanford. And almost like when he's done with his classes, goes and removes himself from all of it and just sits alone with himself. But even as he has removed himself from this world that he's living in, he still craves the connection with Abra, and so he writes these letters. He can be alone, but he can't be without human connection or human relationships. And so it's almost like the more precious that something is, the less accessible it becomes. If that makes sense. Like Aaron thinks that he's the most precious, so he's going to be not accessible to the student body, or not accessible to Abra or his family or whatever. So to kind of bring it all together, there is, I think, a healthy loneliness and an unhealthy loneliness. The healthy loneliness is what we were talking about earlier and what Lee is describing, where you need to go do something great, or you have this responsibility on your shoulders, and you have to do it a little bit differently than other people. You might be doing it as the only person doing that action. You've separated yourself a little bit. And so it is isolating, but it can be very productive, and you're having great fruits of your labor. The unhealthy loneliness is what Aaron is doing, where the isolation is becoming the point instead of becoming the byproduct of your great and precious work. And so I think that that's where we find the main difference between the healthy loneliness and the unhealthy loneliness, or the great and precious things are lonely, is what comes from the loneliness. When you're lonely, are you making something great? Are you being productive? Are you choosing to be lonely because you're stepping out from the rest of the world and acknowledging that you're trying to be in the world but not of the world? Or are you outside the world because you think you're better than everything, and then actually not doing anything with that time with yourself, not progressing? So loneliness might not be a flaw, but it definitely can be if you're not using it correctly.
I like it, Picasso. Um, Perfect. What's our next thing?
Next one is our Netflix adaptation.
Okay, yeah. What do we want to say here? I think we had, and I'm looking back at like our old notes. I think we had talked about how it would be funny if they like completely flipped the style for the Joe Valeri
Yeah.
section at the beginning of this, where like where like suddenly like it's like in black and white and it's like Sin
Hmm.
City style, like,
Yeah.
like he's got like
Light
a
up a
trench coat.
cigarette. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
raining for some reason.
yeah. I do think, um, in all seriousness, I wouldn't be surprised if that character gets written out. I
Yeah.
don't think he's quite important. He might not
I mean,
be
they don't even need the Ethel
screen
story, I don't
material.
think, really. Do you think they
Yeah,
need the Ethel story?
I think you could tell the whole story of the book without. I'm fine that he's in the book, but like
Hmm.
he's not load bearing by any means, so he might not
No.
make it in the show. Or maybe he'll play a huge role.
He'll be the narrator of the miniseries.
The series is actually just about Joe Valeri.
And this is how I got, you're probably wondering how I got here.
Yeah.
This is how I got tangled up with the top whorehouse
The
this
whole
side of the
series starts with
Mississippi.
yeah, yeah. It's like, you're probably wondering how I got myself in this situation. Saxophone sets in. Um, yeah. Um,
Yeah, so I think
anyway.
he'll get written out. There's no Ethel, I don't think. Um, I do think that with the Thanksgiving shot, that we could have a lot of cuts, a lot of edits to try to build up the anxiety, like show Adam's face, and Cal fumbling through his words, and maybe Abra's like going back and forth with jaw agape, seeing what's going on, and Leash is back there making some hot apple whiskey, just soaking it all in, maybe shaking his head. I don't know, just going through it all, building up some anxiety. Um,
Yeah, they've definitely got a model for this scene with like the that episode of The Bear. What was it called? Spoons.
the
With
seven fishes or something
yeah,
like
the
that.
seven fishes dinner. It's
The,
just recreate that shot for shot,
yep,
and you'll have yourself a pretty good. Um, yeah, John. I was gonna say John Berthenol is Adam.
yep.
Just,
Oh yeah, he actually
um,
works pretty well.
yeah, could be a thing.
Yeah, there's
He's
that
too
trend
hardened.
too.
Adam's a big baby. John Berthenol can't. He doesn't have the range to play someone
No,
as useless as Adam.
he can't be a
Maybe
softie.
Bob Odenkirk is Lee. That's who's gonna.
Now there's a thought.
Yeah, see?
Bob Odenkirk Lee. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
some sort of trend where it's like name a movie where everything's the exact same except all the characters are Muppets except one character. So this could be the Muppet East of Eden, where everybody's a Muppet
Muppet.
except Kate.
There's there's one episode of the whole show where everyone's a Muppet all of a sudden. Um, that's good. Yeah, maybe that's it. I like how in this like in this like redo of our episode, like way sillier version of the adaptation. We were being so serious. In the other episodes, we're like, I think they're gonna like have a panning shot of it. Now we're like, everyone's a Muppet. Who's Kermit gonna play?
Yeah,
Um, but
Kermit's Lee. Anyways,
Kermit is Lee. Kermit, yeah, starring Kermit as Lee.
mm-hmm.
Um,
A
yeah.
rainbow. Anyways,
Adam is Adam is played by Fozzie Bear. He just waka waka. Um,
here's what we'll do. When Lee is normal Lee, he's Kermit, but when he's Pigeon Lee, he's the Swedish Chef.
he just shifts. That's good, yeah. All right.
All right,
We got
Steinbeck
Steinbeck
Stats.
notes? Yeah.
Yeah, so stop me if you've heard this one before. Um, there's a man named John Steinbeck in 1919 enrolled in Leland Stanford University, and it was a decision that had more to do with pleasing his parents than anything else. And then turns out he didn't really love college. Took him 6 years to realize this. He drifted in and out of school during that time and eventually dropped out for good in 1925 with no degree. And it's said out there, a little Steinbeck legend, that he told his roommate once that he didn't see the need to take a final when he already knew what he had learned from the class. So they say, write what you know. Maybe Steinbeck was writing what he knew when he was writing these Aaron scenes a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's good for Steinbeck that he's been able to write so many characters with like different perspectives that like you don't realize when something he's writing like comes from his story. And like, that is
Mm-hmm.
surprising. Like the way he wrote about Aaron's experience, like I didn't pick up that like I wonder if Steinbeck went to Stanford and was really disappointed by what college was.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't even think about that. So that
Yeah.
is a really cool note that that part of the book comes from his real life where he and
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's why he's so hard on Aaron because he's kind of maybe upset with himself that that was his takeaway.
Yeah.
Because I when you read those chapters about Aaron, it does feel like you're supposed to feel like this guy, like come on,
Mm-hmm.
man, like. And so I don't know if that was intentional, or maybe Steinbeck really stands on that. Maybe he's like, no, college is for suckers.
You don't need a
So
degree.
maybe I
If you can
completely
code, you can
misunderstood.
get a job.
He's like, yeah, no, dude, that's a great stat.
Good stat. Okay, I guess we can wrap up with your predictions.
Well, the predictions is not really fair now because this is
Yeah,
future me months after I finish the book. But I will
I've
tell
got
you,
I've got them up if you want me to
um,
just list what you'd said before we had to reshoot, or if you have them,
sure,
we
yeah.
can
Wait,
do it.
I have the Google sheet. I can
Okay,
go in here. Um, where
what
is
is
it?
it?
Um, I don't see. Never mind. I don't see the Google sheet. It's gone.
Okay,
Um, yeah, you better pull it up.
okay. So here you had 5 predictions here.
Okay.
You said Aaron goes to war, dies horrifically.
Mm-hmm.
Cal and Abra get married.
Okay.
Kate kills Joe. We
Mm-hmm.
get one last Kate v. Adam interaction. And when Aaron goes to war and dies horrifically, Adam will also die from grief.
Well, we're spoiler-free pod, so I won't tell you how right I was, but
Nope.
not
But you
bad.
can find out in a week.
Not bad. You'll find out in a week. Those weren't my worst predictions, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
All right. Well, very well. Well, thanks for riding with us on this little reshoot that we had to do. Um,
Thanks for
yeah.
making it this far, episode 11. You're the
Thanks.
real ones.
Exactly. Episode 11. Um, to kind of finish off here, I did just want to recap. I don't remember if we covered this well enough in the first half of the pod before we reshot. I think it's an important takeaway is Joe Valeri's rules for life. And if I could
Yeah,
just
let's
add
hear them.
one more rule, there's one more rule. I think interesting rules. I want to add one. So rule number one, don't believe nobody. Rule number
Yep.
two, keep your mouth shut. Rule number three, keep your ears open. Rule number four, everyone is a son of a bitch, and whatever you do, they deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
Rule number five, go at everything roundabout. Rule number 6, don't trust no Dane.
Don't trust no dame.
Rule number huh?
Don't trust no dame.
Yeah, no, can't do it. Rule number 7, put your faith in the dough. And rule number 8, never, ever, ever fly uphill, me boys. We're out.
Hit it.